A group of House Republicans who call themselves OK for Only Kevin are reportedly planning to nominate House Speaker Kevin McCarthy for the speakership. Unfortunately, a group that calls themselves FK won't let them.
Hey, the writer's strike is over. And that's what we get. Could you go back on strike, please? I think it would be best for everyone if you just went back on strike. That's clever. They've hired teenagers to, got 13-year-olds. They ride their Schwinn Stingrays over to Seth Meyers' house to write his great jokes. Funny bunch. Funny bunch. Black Lives Matter Chicago now admits it isn't proud, that's what they say, of a now deleted post showing paragliding terrorists because they came out in support of the mass murder of Jewish people. Black Lives Matter did, and Barack Obama would have them over to the White House. Probably Joe Biden should have them over now. The Chicago Black Lives Matter organization that posted a since-deleted graphic seemingly celebrating Hamas's slaughter of Israelis partially walked back the inflammatory post on Wednesday. Yesterday, they said, we sent out messages that we aren't proud of, Black Lives Matter Chicago tweeted. We stand with Palestine. They're proud of that. There is no Palestine, by the way, to stand with. But you're incredibly dumb, and you make that clear. The people who will do what they must to live free. They could live free by not being a gang of blood-drenched murderers. They were given freedom in the Gaza Strip, which is what they asked for. What do they have, 24 or 25 miles of beachfront property, which might be valuable to some people if they weren't medieval ghouls. But never mind that. And Black Lives Matter Chicago continued, our hearts are with the grieving mothers, those rescuing babies from rubble who are in danger of being wiped out completely. They're not talking about the actual people that were murdered in the vicious attack, but never mind that. The Chicago Black Lives Matter group, which has more than 60,000 followers, posted an image of a person paragliding with a Palestinian flag attached to its parachute that says, I stand with Palestine, written beneath the it led to some outrage, as you might imagine, because, the ghouls paraglided in to a concert and murdered 260 people, then raping women on the ground next to the dead bodies because, and then you can see why the Democrats would like them and Black Lives Matter would like them, since they are the crime wave in the United States of America, your Democrat Party. The post was an apparent reference to Hamas terrorists who descended on Israeli communities with parachutes and paragliders over the weekend, butchering hundreds and taking civilian hostages in brutal surprise attacks, killing the little children, 8-year-old girls, and, raping everybody because this is a weapon of war when you're dealing with savages. Black Lives Matter Chicago's backtrack came as the BLM Global Network Foundation reportedly made clear it's not connected with the Chicago branch of Black Lives Matter or Black Lives Matter Grassroots. That's another group. They stand up all these groups and then they all get lots of money from corporations, and from individuals who are incredibly stupid. And there are a great many of those, thanks to the Democrat Party's control of colleges and high schools and grammar schools. Black Lives Matter Grassroots also, they have a bunch of posts that praised Hamas because, they love death more than we love life. Just amazing stuff. So they've kind of gone back a little bit, but the Black Lives Matter people, did you donate to Black Lives Matter and then send a check to Planned Parenthood? No sense of irony, these people. Like Rashida Tlaib with her Palestinian flag outside her congressional office next to a rainbow flag outside of her congressional office. Sure. It's like having a Nazi flag and an Israeli flag side by side and saying, oh, yeah, that's me. Just amazing stuff. Now, there's another story that I do want to share with you before I get back to some of this other gruesome stuff. this left-wing gay Democrat journalist, Philadelphia, Josh Kruger, who was murdered in his home. A 19-year-old has been arrested for the crime. Josh Kruger was a Caucasian man, and he was murdered in his home by being shot a whole bunch of times. And the 19-year-old man arrested is African American. Now, here's the update on the story. Okay, and this is now there are all kinds of things that go with this. It's crazy. Senator John Fetterman, who is a monster and an embarrassment to the Senate and to America, posted when this guy Josh was murdered. A well-known leftist, Josh Kruger, who was a gay activist and a journalist activist, aren't they all? And he was murdered in his home. And Senator Fetterman weighed in. A devastating loss. Josh cared deeply about Philly and fiercely advocated for the most vulnerable communities through his journalism. Sure he did. He will be sorely missed. Right? And the prosecutor, who's a radical left-wing pro-crime extremist, George Soros prosecutor, Larry Krasner, he tweeted also, Josh Kruger lifted up the most vulnerable, notice how they use the same words, and stigmatized people in our communities, particularly unhoused people living with addiction as homeless addicts. They're unhoused. This is a new euphemism that they like to use. And another tweet has emerged from 2018 that Josh Kruger himself, the now murdered journalist, posted on his account. Josh Kruger posted, the centuries-old smear that gay men are pedophiles is getting new life thanks to coordination between far-right news sites and far-right message boards. This egregious defamation is part of a strategy to target LGBTQ people with violence. Well, none of that is true. It's all delusional. He was mentally ill. But there is irony here. Again, these people have no sense of irony because it turns out, and he says the centuries-old smear, gay men are pedophiles, is getting new life because far-right people, and this is 2018. And what we learned yesterday is that the family of the man charged with killing Josh Kruger says that the 19-year-old man accused of killing Josh Kruger, the journalist, shared sex and drugs. But wait, there's more. It turns out that the assertions by Robert Davis's mother, Robert Davis in custody for the murder, Robert Davis's mother and older brother add new complexities to a killing that has garnered national attention. Why has it garnered national attention when more than 200 murders in Washington, D.C. have not? Well, he's a liberal, left-wing, gay, activist, journalist. He was. Now, the family of Robert Davis, 19, who is accused of killing local journalist Josh Kruger, the Philadelphia Inquirer writes, said that Davis was just 15 when he and Kruger began a years-long sexual relationship involving drugs, and that Davis told them Kruger was threatening to post sexually explicit videos of him online before the murder. Right? And police say that Davis, now 19 years old, shot Josh Kruger, now dead. Those assertions by Davis's mother and older brother in recent interviews with the Inquirer add troubling new complexities to a killing that has garnered national attention. Like that's the important thing. Their account, they said, is drawn from recent conversations with Davis and from years of watching his life unravel as he tried to keep the relationship and drug addiction hidden from his family. Kruger, 39, was killed after a man entered his Point Breeze, Philadelphia home in the middle of the night, police said, and shot him 7 times at the base of his stairs. Surveillance video near the scene and tips from Kruger's friends and family led detectives to Davis, and a warrant was issued for his arrest a few days later. Police described the pair as acquaintances and said Kruger was trying to help Davis get through life. Sure, but it now looks like that the gay left-wing Democrat activist journalist was having sex with his murderer when the young man was 15 years old, 16 years old, 17 years old, 18 years old, then threatening to post videos online, sexual in nature, of the 19-year-old Davis, and Davis decided to shoot and kill him in his home in the middle of the night. That's the update on that story because, Democrats, right? And it's kind of ironic that he posted in 2018 when Davis was 14 years old, the centuries-old smear that gay men are pedophiles, and then he is murdered by a young man with whom he is reportedly having a pedophile relationship with for years. Boy, I tell you. There it is. And Greg Price tweeting the breaking news yesterday. Josh Kruger, the left-wing Philly journalist who was murdered in his home last week by 19-year-old Robert Davis, allegedly, has been in a sexual relationship with him starting when Davis was 15 years old and had threatened to post sexually explicit photos and or videos of him online, according to his own family. So that's your Democratic Party. Also, now Antony Blinken, our Secretary of State, who is in Israel, has made it known that now there are now 25 Americans confirmed murdered in this terrorist attack on Israel, which the Democrats, so many Democrats in America, are in favor of the terror attack on. And I do find it ironic and interesting that Egypt has a wall on the southern border of Israel, which includes Gaza, because the southern border of Gaza meets Egypt along the Sinai, and their wall is keeping the Palestinians, so-called, in the West Bank, even though many of them would like to go to Egypt to marry up with their Arab brethren, their Muslim brethren, but Egypt is not letting them through. And the walls, which Democrats tell us don't work, seem to be working very well. And then the Wall Street Journal with this one. Israeli strike on Gaza border crossing with Egypt. Egypt disrupts aid flow. Well, there's an aid flow coming in from Egypt to the Gaza. I had to tell you, I don't think these people pick very good leadership for themselves, the Palestinians. And in the Gaza, they have no electricity now, right? No fuel, because they depend on the Jews for electricity. And the Jews have been providing them with electricity all these years. And then the massacre, and guess what? Mr. Charlie cut off the electricity. The patriarchy. The adults in the room who can actually create electricity, whereas were it not for the patriarchy, that is to say, Europeans and Israelis, there are a whole lot of places that wouldn't have any electricity at all. You're welcome. Like electricity, thank the patriarchy. And if you're in Gaza, like electricity, thank Israel. You like fuel for your cars and your motorcycles and your scooters and to stay warm? Thank Israel. How about medicine? Anything? Is there anything you don't depend on Israel for? I guess ammo, because, the Ayatollahs provide that. CBD is everywhere. They're putting CBD in everything these days. And my friends at Generic CBD have infused CBD into their #1 best-selling deep penetrating muscle and joint cream. And let me tell you, the stuff is amazing. Check it out online. Everybody's wild for it. It melts right into your knees, your elbows, your shoulders, your back, especially those stiff hands, your fingers, your knuckles. It goes to work in a matter of seconds, and even my best girl says it's a great moisturizer. The company is called GenericCBD.com. You've heard me talk about them before. They sell premium CBD products for a lot less cash. And right now, you can try their muscle and joint cream for free. for free. You pay $2.95 for shipping and handling, and that's it. But it's not a subscription. Don't worry, no strings attached. They just want you to try it because they know you're going to love it. You're going to get it for yourself and for your best girl and for your mom and for people at work. Get your free sample today at genericcbd.com. That's GENERICCBD.com. These products and statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, prevent any disease or illness. Yeah, now 25 Americans confirmed killed, according to our Secretary of State. And are there Americans being held hostage in the Gaza? Secretary of Defense appeared to say we're sending some special operators that way who will make quick work of these bad guys. Hey, it's Chris Plant, excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Book by this July 31st for extra savings. Visit ChrisPlantCruise.com. Now, there is a video making the rounds again, and appropriately so. From March 25th of this year in Times Square, New York, a gathering of Muslims breaking the fast at the end of Ramadan, and a Muslim leader right there out in front of God and everyone, nighttime Times Square in front of the Gap store there with a very large crowd of Muslim Americans gathered around him, and the Muslim leader had this for the crowd.
We're done being tortured and hurt and judged. This is the correct religion. This is the religion that all of humanity needs to be upon, of Islam. And we will not stop until it enters every home. So I want you to repeat after me. I want to hear it in every single district. It should tremble. Brooklyn should hear it. The Bronx should hear it. Queens should hear it. Say it as if the Ummah depends on this, my brothers and sisters. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Muhammadan Rasulullah. There is no God worthy of worship except Allah, the God of Jesus, the God of Moses, the God of Abraham, and the God of the last and final prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa.
Oh, yes, it sounded perfectly mellow and peaceful and inviting, didn't it? And that's New York City in March of this year. Also kind of another Democrats, they have no sense of irony. I have to keep saying that because they keep demonstrating this. There is a historically black college in Baltimore called Morgan State University. They had another mass shooting there recently. I told you about it. They have a new idea to fix that. That's coming up. And keep in mind also that this former head of Hamas has called for all of the neighboring countries, the surrounding countries, to attack Israel. He's living in Doha, in Qatar, in the United Arab Emirates, and a luxury hotel, and having a great time. And he's posting videos, and he's calling for tomorrow for the Arab and Islamic world to rise up against Israel. And he's calling on the people of Jordan and Syria and Lebanon and Egypt, all the Arab nations that border Israel, to do their duty. He said they have a bigger duty to support the Palestinians. Why don't you take them in and give them a nice place to live? Oh, wait, they've already got like 25 miles of waterfront property on the Mediterranean Sea, and they've turned it into beep. They had this guy screaming in Times Square we just played for you back in March. And he comes from one of these beep hole countries. And, the reason that beep hole countries are beep hole countries is because of the people and the culture. The Israelis went in, European Jews and Jews that already lived in Israel, and turn it into a Western paradise with freedom and rights and a legitimate judicial system, and they don't hang people for being gay from cranes while the crowds chant Allahu Akbar, which happens all over the Arab world. It's about culture, and that guy yelling in Times Square, he is from one of these beephole countries, and he's here to turn our country into a beephole country too. And the Democrats love it because they're very, very unwell. So the rallying cry from this head of Hamas, Khaled Mashal, calling on the Muslim world to rise up and for the surrounding Arab nations to attack Israel, and for Muslims all over the world, you see, to respond as well. And that means here in the United States, and there are now heightened security alerts all over the United States and elsewhere. He's crying out, "Tribes of Jordan, sons of Jordan, brothers and sisters of Jordan, this is a moment of truth, and the borders are close to you. You all know your responsibility." And, they know their responsibility. So there may be a lot of bloodshed, a lot of murder tomorrow because, Mashal said, "To all the scholars who teach jihad, to all who teach and learn, this is a moment for the application of the theories," meaning the genocide. So tomorrow, we're maybe expecting more. Let's go to Joe Biden, Lunch Bucket Joe. He is not an intelligent man. He's not a serious man. He's a very, very poor leader. And yesterday, Joe Biden came out and said some stuff that they then had to, walk back. Walk back. That's the phrase they like to use, walk back. That's what they say. I also need to tell you about Morgan State. But here's Joe Biden. Here's Joe Biden yesterday saying he's seen because he's catching a lot of guff, a lot of grief because he's been invisible. He's not a world leader. He's not a national leader. He's not a serious man. And these are serious times. These are times that need serious men. Here's Joe Biden yesterday saying that he saw the heads of the babies.
Terrorist groups like Hamas brought not only terror, but sheer evil to the world. Evil that echoes the worst and matches, in some cases, exceeds the worst atrocities of ISIS. It matters. It matters that Americans see what's happening. I mean, I've been doing this a long time.
That's for sure.
I never really thought that I would
That's for sure.
see and have confirmed pictures of terrorists beheading children.
Said never thought that he'd see. Really? Why would you think that? We've seen lots of pictures of terrorists beheading people all over the place. They kill children all the time, and and they're not pro-life, and neither are you. So there's that. Well, now Al Jazeera has the story. White House walks back Biden's claim he saw children beheaded by Hamas. White House spokesperson later clarified that U.S. officials, meaning Biden, and the president have not seen pictures or confirmed such reports independently. I got to tell you, there's a blackout on the video, and the news media is not showing it. Even the Israeli news media is not showing it, on television at least. I've looked. If you try to put it on X, then they're going to shut you down, as they did with my friend Matthew Foldy when he posted photographs not even of the beheaded babies, but of charred human remains in a vehicle. And you can't identify who the people are, but they're shutting it down. It's being sanitized. The war in Ukraine has been sanitized for months and months now. Either that or there is no war in Ukraine, one or the other, but the news media is not showing us any actual warfare out of Ukraine. And they, for the first day, there was good coverage of what was going on in Israel, at least by the Israeli media. And now, honestly, the crackdown on anything that might be difficult to see is complete. it's hard to find anything. Yeah, White House walks back Biden's claim he saw children beheaded. Now, it's interesting that it's Al Jazeera doing the reporting and nobody else, because Al Jazeera is, of course, Jihad TV. And they're saying, oh, see, there are no babies beheaded. You can't show the pictures, show the video. Not everyone should go look at it, but it needs to be available. This can't be sanitized by leftists who are having pro-Hamas rallies. Just amazing stuff. Yeah, so Anthony Blinken is in Israel, and he did say that there are now 25 Americans that have been killed. And the great one, Mark Levin, has taken to Twitter. Here's what Blinken also said just now to Benjamin Netanyahu and the rest of the world, which is not being reported, in which tries to tie Israel's hands. You see, Blinken said, as the Prime Minister and I discussed, how Israel does this matters. We democracies distinguish ourselves from terrorists. You see, they are trying to tie the hands of the Israelis. No, we go by, and the Israeli President Herzog also said, we go by the rules of war. Hamas does not. The troglodytes do not. But the Prime Minister and I discussed how Israel does this matters. We democracies distinguish ourselves from terrorists by striving for a different standard, even when it's difficult, and holding ourselves to account when we fall short. Our humanity, the values that we place on human life and human dignity, that's what makes us who we are. That's all true, and every now and then you got to go kill these things. And we count them among our greatest strengths, Blinken said. That's why it's so important to take every possible precaution to avoid harming civilians. They use civilians as human shields. Hamas does. Islamic Jihad does. Hezbollah does. The Iraqis did. It's very, very common in that part of the world. They put their weapons in hospitals, in schools, in daycare centers, because they want you to kill civilians because they'll take the photo op. And that's why we mourn the loss of every innocent life, Blinken said, civilians of every faith, every nationality who have been killed. By the way, people of from dozens of countries were killed in this attack while in Israel visiting the Holy Land. In other words, it is only a matter of time before the Biden regime, their media, and the rest demand that Israel lose, Mark Levin wrote in an ex-post today, just a short time ago. And that's exactly right. And the media here, again, the Washington Post turned against Israel. It's an amazing thing to see, but it's true. After a day, and now closed borders, falling bombs choke Gaza. Well, yeah, let's let them into Israel. Oh, wait, Israel has a wall. And so the so-called Palestinians in Gaza aren't being allowed in to Egypt by their Muslim brethren because of the wall, which Democrats tell us won't work here. They work every place else, but not here. Speaking of which, Morgan State is a university in Baltimore. Here's the headline from the Associated Press. I told you at homecoming how many people were shot. I think it was 8 people were shot. 5 people. It was 5 people at the homecoming festivities at Morgan State University, a historically black college and/or university. And then last year at their homecoming event, they had 1 person shot. And 2 years ago at their homecoming event, they had 1 person shot. But this year they had 5 people shot. And so here's the headline at Morgan State University, from Morgan State University on the Associated Press. Morgan State University plans to build a wall around campus after shooting during homecoming week. The Associated Press, the Dateline is Baltimore. In the wake of a shooting that left 5 people injured during homecoming festivities, Morgan State University leaders announced on Tuesday they plan to build a wall around most of the Northeast Baltimore campus and station security personnel at entrances and exits. No defunding the police and building a wall? Not very Democrat Party of you, I've got to say. The wall would expand existing barriers by around 8,000 feet. That's more than a mile of wall, as any school child can tell you, to encircle 90% of the campus, effectively eliminate unfettered access, University President David Wilson said in a campus town hall. We're doing this, he said. Let me be clear, not to keep out our neighbors and our community writ large. Of course it is. That's exactly what it is. We're doing it to keep out the bad actors. Well, okay, Wilson told an auditorium filled with students, faculty, and staff of the historically black university. After the shooting the night of October 3rd, following a coronation ceremony for the year's Mr. and Miss Morgan State, university leaders canceled classes and homecoming activities for the remainder of the week. They're now grappling with how to keep students safe as gun violence becomes an ever-growing threat. It says, in American schools. Well, we could narrow it down a lot more than that, I think, but, then you'd have to go to prison. So they're building a wall, and they're hiring armed security to keep the students safe because too many people keep getting shot by Democrats. Just by the way, you know who's shooting them, Michael? Democrats. That's who. Man, oh man, that's it. All right, let's take. I haven't gone to the telephones in a very long time. Let me go. God, look at the clock. I can't believe it. It's completely nuts. What have we not gotten to? Just crazy. You know, let's go to this actor, this Nathaniel Bozolik. Nathaniel Bozolik, who found himself in trouble too. He's a Hollywood actor, and he's been in a lot of things on television and series and things. What was he in? He was in one big thing that nobody knows who he is. But he posted online some pro-Israel stuff, and he got in trouble for posting pro-Israel stuff because the left has lost its mind. Here's a Hollywood actor, Nathaniel Bozolik, on being banned by his own people.
I think people need to understand that Hamas and pro-Palestinian propagandists are very, very good at manipulating social media. The pro-Palestinian narrative wants to keep the group like Hamas in the victim's chair. And so what they do is try and share information that presents Israel as the bad guy, and any alternative message that challenges that current status quo, they want to shut down.
Now, that put us in mind of an interview that we had yesterday. Rudy Rockman, who is an Israeli Defense Forces reservist, he was on the television yesterday talking about the propaganda war already underway.
We need to understand that not just what is happening, why it is happening. Hamas knows it's not going to win the war. It's trying to win a PR war. It's intentionally placing its citizens in places where they're shooting rockets out of in order for Israel to defend itself and for casualties to go up. Hamas wants to increase casualties both for Israelis and for Palestinians in order to win a PR war, and we need to be aware of that as well.
That is exactly right. They don't care about human life. They're like the left. And they do put their headquarters and their leadership and their weaponry and their ammo and their rockets and their missiles in schools and in hospitals. And they basically force you, if you're going to take them on, to hit these sites. And I saw a video today of Palestinians running around with injured children, and it's a terrible thing. And they make it happen. They orchestrate it. They arrange it. And then from there, the left-wing media takes over, doing the propaganda for the Islamists, for the jihadis, for the terrorists, for the troglodytes from hell. Now, lefty media all over the place is, along with Antony Blinken, our Secretary of State, attacking Israel. The left-wing Intercept has the headline, quote, beheaded babies, end quote. Report spread wide and fast, but Israeli military won't confirm it. So they're trying to cast doubt on, and this is why the pictures and the videos have to be released. As distasteful as it all is, it has to, the proof has to be released. And the Intercept has another one that Israel may commit genocide. Israel is going to commit genocide in the Gaza against civilians because, you know, the Gazans and all that. That's the Democrat Party thing. There is a pretty funny video now making the rounds of a guy burning an Israeli flag. Every day is an IQ test, and the guy it's a 6-foot Israeli flag, and he has it on a 10-foot. Actually, it's probably an 8-foot Israeli flag. He's got it on a 10-foot pole, and the wind shifts, and the flag lands on him and sets him on fire, sets his pants on fire, sets his sweater on fire, and he goes running away on fire. And it's, you know, one of those circumstances where somebody setting himself on fire is real funny. It doesn't happen every day, but it does happen, you know. All right, I'm going to have to come back tomorrow with more, and tomorrow is Friday, and we're going to try to have some more fun stuff tomorrow. Right now, with the troglodytes on the list, of course, it's supposed to be the day of mayhem across the world, according to the head of Hamas, who's calling for everybody to attack Israel, all of the neighbors to attack Israel, and for the Ummah, the worldwide Muslim community, to lash out around the world. And in the United States, here we're on high alert. BWI Airport, Baltimore Washington International, also known as Thurgood Marshall Airport, was on lockdown for hours yesterday because of an apparent bomb threat, which fortunately turned out to be nothing. I was in a discussion with people yesterday, at least one of whom is planning on flying tomorrow. And now people are nervous about flying tomorrow because, you know, the worldwide jihad and the calls by the Hamas leader to lash out on Friday. And today it'll be interesting to see how these pro-Hamas gatherings on college campuses go today. I suspect that some cold water might have been thrown on these efforts by the Democrats.